You're listening to Wildlife Control Consultant, where we provide research-based information on all things related to vertebrate pest management. Hi everyone, Stephen Vantassel here, Wildlife Control Consultant, bringing you another broadcast of the Wildlife Control Consultant podcast. So glad to have you with me. I hope your week went well. I am trying to get ahead and get some recordings done because I have more training events I have to be responsible for. So things are going to get kind of busy as I'm traveling a little bit more. Looking forward to June. June is things start slowing down for me in June. So I'm going to be grateful for that. Hey, if you're wondering what the Wildlife Control Consultant podcast is all about, well, it's all about scientifically based information on all things related to vertebrate pest control. So that means wildlife or animals with a spine. So if it has a backbone, we're interested in it. We do talk about bugs and diseases occasionally as they relate to vertebrate pest control. That's animals with a spine. So otherwise, we don't deal with bugs directly unless it's ancillary or associated with vertebrate pest control. So, we'd love to have you enjoy the show. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so that you can be notified of updates and future shows. I publish about once a week. If you're looking at my website here, this is where you can find some of the services and products that I sell. If we click the store, that's going to come up. Notice that I have a variety of books. And one book I want to just sort of focus on here today, and that is the Vertebrate Pest Handbook 3rd edition. It's a book originally written by Dr. Frischman, and he was gracious enough to let me purchase it. And I essentially revised it and narrowed the scope to focus only on commensal rodents. That'd be house mice, rats, deer mice, and things of that nature. And so thoroughly updated it. It is available. If you want the older edition, the one that he wrote, that is also available at a very modest price because the scan wasn't as good as I would have liked it on, but so I'm barely making any money on it. So it's just basically there to, if you would like to purchase it and have a copy for yourself, it is available there. So my particular book here is available both as an ebook and as a print book, depending on what you prefer. So I hope you check that out. So I am continuing this week. Last week I spoke on glueboards and their efficacy, whether covered or open. And this week, I am continuing with Dr. Corrigan's study. Let me pull up my PowerPoint here and get this set up here. Give me a moment. So I am going to be, I went too far to the beginning, so let me kind of scroll down. There we go. So we're going to be talking about controlling house mice again, focusing on Dr. Corrigan's paper, because he did more in that particular chapter. Last time we talked about whether we're dealing with covered glueboards, that is the glueboards that have like a little tent where they're sort of enclosed, or glueboards that are open, whether cardboard or open as a tray. This week, I'm looking at a different part of his paper where he discusses the differences between glueboards and traps. So you say, well, the glueboard is a trap. Yeah, you're right. It is a trap. But for our purposes, think of a trap as something mechanical, where a glueboard is basically sort of a stumble trap, right? It's just sort of, if you fall into it, you're caught. But where a trap is something it has a mechanical device with it to capture it. So even though under broad terms, a glueboard, of course, is a trap as well. Not here to bash glueboards on some sort of animal rights type level here. That's the subject for a different podcast. We're talking about pure efficacy. Does the glueboard do its job? And this is what Dr. Corrigan was focused on. For those of you not familiar with the particular paper that he wrote, the title of it is The Efficacy of Glueboards Against Wild Populations of House Mice, Mus Domesticus, by Ruddy. Ruddy would be the person who sort of named it that way. So the title of the article is The Efficacy of Glueboard Traps Against Wild Populations of House Mice, Mus Domesticus, that would be its scientific name, Ruddy. And it was published in the 18th volume of the Vertebrate Pest Conference proceedings. And that was published in 1998. So, interesting paper he did. If you're not familiar with Dr. Corrigan, he is a legend in the area of rodentology, as he calls it. So he did his PhD, his doctoral work from the University of Purdue, and he did it on rodent control inside of chicken farms, right? So hatcheries. Wow, can they have high levels of mice? And so this was definitely a worthwhile study that he did there, because you need to have a good sample size and a lot of target animals to really push something, right, to get the test results that you want. Clearly, your density of mice should be a whole lot less than what he was dealing with in those areas. But nevertheless, that's the context of his particular research. So, what was his first test? Well, the first test that he did was testing a baited snap trap, and you can see an example of that here, against a folded glue board. Didn't use this exact version, because the exact version he had was baited, or scented, I should say, with peanut butter. So he was baiting the snap traps. They weren't just using blind sets. If you're not familiar with that terminology, there's 3 types of trapping sets. Baited traps, where you have a lure in there that attracts the animal. A blind set is where you're simply placing the trap in a location where you believe the animal is traveling. And then what's called a positive set, and that is a set where only the guilty animal will be caught. Like if you have a den hole, you place the trap directly over the hole, but you're only going to catch what comes out of the hole, not what would go into the hole. So that would be called a positive set. If it could catch either way, then that would be a blind set. Okay, so this is what he was testing, just to sort of reiterate here. So he's using glue boards. I use triangles because these are covered glue boards, right? So they're encapsulated. It's not just a flat glue board on the floor. He's using covered glue boards. And he's then using also baited snap traps, because the glue boards were impregnated with a peanut butter scent. Now, since the glue boards could capture 2 mice, he used 2 snap traps for every glue board. And notice he put them around the room. He had 3 different rooms, and he placed them so there was a 2-to-1 ratio. There'd be 2 snap traps for every glue board. And he only did this test for 1 evening. And so he had 3 rooms, and I believe he used 96 snap traps in 36 glue boards. So that's basically what he did there. And so what were the results? Well, he caught 54 mice for a capture rate of 62% with the snap traps. Those are baited snap traps. But the glue boards only captured 4 mice with an 8.3% capture rate. So, not very good there. So, but again, it was only 1 evening is what he did for those particular traps. So how about the second test? The second test, he was using a catch-all trap. Now, a catch-all trap is called a curiosity trap. It's also known as a multiple catch trap. So it has a wind-up mechanism inside. So the idea is mice like to explore holes. It has a hole in there. When the mouse explores the hole, it hits a lever, and then it's pushed into a containment area with the mechanical means. And then he also used folded glue boards, because again, it's that tunnel concept. Now, in this particular situation, he was setting up the traps at the study for 4 to 5 weeks. So it wasn't just a one-night test that he did with test number 1. He's doing this over a period of time. Same principle. He's using a glue board alternating with the catch-all glue board, catch-all glue board, catch-all, and he went through that. So he left it for 4 to 5 weeks. What were the results? So again, he's using 48 catch-all traps and 48 glue board traps. So you may be thinking, but yeah, the glue board, catch-all though, can catch up to 12 to 15 mice, where the glue board's only going to be able to catch 3. Well, he only wound the trap up enough to catch 3 mice, rather than like 12 to 15. So to try to make it on par. But notice what happened within that period of time. 47 mice were caught, which is 87% of all the mice that were captured, and then the glue boards only caught 7 mice, which was only 13% of the mice captured. So clearly, glue boards don't come out very well in this particular study either. Now, to my understanding, the glue boards were not scented, but neither is the catch-all. The catch-all is not a baited trap, so he's trying to keep as many variables the same as possible between the two traps. So did he do a third test? And the answer is yes, he did do a third test. This is where he uses a tin cat, which doesn't require winding. It uses a teeter-totter mechanism so that when the mouse enters the hole, it's sort of like a seesaw. So when the mouse goes so far, it drops, and when it drops, it closes the door behind him and opens a door in front of him, allowing him to proceed but not back out. And then, of course, once he goes through that door, he's stuck inside of the trap. That's the tin cat. It's a non-wind-up version of a curiosity trap that we talked about in test number 2. He also was looking at tray glue boards that were uncovered. Now, tray glue boards have a little bit of a plastic lip on them because they pour the glue into this plastic tray, so you need to have a little bit of a lip, otherwise it's going to ooze all over the place. And so there's a little bit of a ridge there, and then he also used a tray glue board that was covered to kind of give it that tunnel effect. So he tested these. Now, he used 19 of each of these types of traps, and he did it in an area. Again, this facility is a chicken area that was being used, a layer research facility that had, he said, high densities of mice in this particular facility. He then used, again, the 19 traps of each type, had them distributed probably randomly through the building, making sure you have proper alternation of the. Dr. Corrigan's a very careful researcher, so he's trying to avoid biasing, right? So that way all traps have an equal chance of catching a mouse in this particular facility. Now, what he did was, because of the concern for pheromones, that is, when mice are caught, they're releasing their pheromones that other mice can smell, that would be also an attractant or perhaps a detriment, depending on the situation. So he then, whenever there was an interaction with a glue board, that glue board was replaced. If there was an interaction with a tin cat, the tin cat was thoroughly washed and then replaced. So this particular study only ran for 6 days. Okay, so 19 traps, each 19 tin cats, 19 tray glue boards uncovered, 19 tray glue boards covered. Study went on for 6 days. Here are the results. Now, he gave it by day for each category, but we're interested sort of in the bottom line here, right? So the most mice were caught on the first night, which kind of makes sense, right? Because you have diminishing returns over time. So tin cat on day 1 caught 27, uncovered glue tray caught 13, covered glue tray caught 5, and then the numbers just go down pretty much from there with a couple of exceptions. But in terms of the percentage of the total mice caught, tin cat came out ahead at 67.6%. The next best was the uncovered glue tray at 21%. And then lastly, bringing up the rear, you have the covered glue tray at 11.2%. So again, glue boards, whether covered or uncovered, don't seem to do too well. However, it does appear, when we're dealing with house mice at least, that uncovered glue boards are going to work better than covered glue boards. Now, here's the challenge for those of you that are professionals, of course, is that sometimes you need to cover the glue board because there's so much dirt and dust flying around, it's going to interfere with the stickiness or the tackiness of the trap. These are the challenges that you have to struggle with, to be sure, but it might just be better just to go with traps straight away. What are the conclusions that can be drawn from this? Again, this is from Dr. Corrigan's research from 1998. Ultimately, mechanical traps work better than glue boards, period. It doesn't matter whether the trap, the mechanical trap, is a curiosity trap like a catch-all or a tin cat, or whether it's a baited trap like the baited snap traps that we were talking about earlier. If you're going to use glue boards, try not to rely on them as your first line of attack because according to Dr. Corrigan's research, they're just not that effective. And we saw that in the previous podcast as well. So if you want to just see his research on covered glue boards versus uncovered glue boards, you'd want to check that out as well. So your experience may be slightly better. So you say, well, I'm capturing mice. Yes, but are you capturing enough? It's not that glue boards don't capture mice. They do. Clearly they do. The question is do they capture them efficiently enough? And Dr. Corrigan argues that you're really only catching a lot of the juveniles. In fact, you're also going to be educating a lot of mice because some are going to get caught or have some interaction with that glue board and then learn that it's a threat to them and then avoid it. Of course, the same thing can happen with traps, but you have less chances of that with a trap because they just seem to work better. So take that to heart, folks, and definitely think about how you're going about your control with mice, whether you're going to be using traps or whether you're going to be using glue boards. Something to think about to be sure. Well, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, learning about the difference between glue boards and mechanical traps for the management of house mice. Do have that publication available, the Vertebrate Pest Handbook 3rd edition. That's available from either my website or you can go to Lulu or even Amazon to purchase that particular book if you're interested in learning more about tips to handle vertebrate pests that are commensal, right? Those that hang around houses. Love to hear from you. If you have thoughts, criticisms, suggestions for the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. And if you have an idea, perhaps you'd like to be on the show talking about a product or service that you provide, definitely reach out to me. We love having guests on the show because we think that there's a lot of information out there that we would like to assist getting that out to a wider public. So again, you can reach me the same way, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Well, that's it for this week. Definitely control those mice. Think about your strategies on managing them. Certainly Dr. Corrigan's research suggests traps trump glue boards. So food for thought for you to think about. That's it for me. Take care of everybody.
This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant Podcast. Vertebrate pest control is an inherently dangerous activity involving risk of bodily injury to you, others, and or property. Vertebrate pest control also involves legal issues, so be sure to always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and or other control methods when controlling pests. Wildlife Control Consultant LLC, Stephen M. Vantassel, or their affiliates are not responsible for your use of the information provided here. Always consult a qualified and appropriate professional before employing the information provided here.